Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe that most high net worth individuals and their professional teams struggle with clarifying great capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the deferred sales trust, is the best way to exit your highly appreciated assets. Tax deferred, so you create, preserve, and grow your wealth. I'm your co-host, Pearson York, filling in for Brett Schwartz. And each episode, I'm joined by some of the best wealth, business, real estate, and leadership individuals in the world. Share ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. As always, we're streaming on expertcresecrets.com, Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel, the Kingdom Luxury Realty Facebook channel. So please rate, review, subscribe, like, notification bell, share, comment, post, all that fun stuff. And I'm super excited about our next guest. He's been in the money world for almost 35 years now, and he's got a ton of wisdom, a ton of knowledge, and so we're going to have a fantastic conversation. Mr. Curtis May. Curtis, how you doing?
I am great. Thanks for having me. Excited to be
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. All right, so Curtis, what's your story? How'd you get to where you are?
So, long story short, I actually got into the industry I'm in college. I always tell people I realized the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guards. So I actually got my insurance license during basketball season. I was going to school in North Carolina, and then I about a couple years later I was a registered rep and did mutual funds and 401ks and all that good stuff. And then during that process, I learned. I got good at that, and I wanted to educate people. And then I stumbled upon a little book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it kind of rocked me where I started to question the typical financial advice. And then when you start to really study people with money, they don't really do that stuff. Okay. And so then I've been researching what do they do, or what do institutes do with money, and I've been learning that over the last 12 years. So I kind of been teaching that. So that's how I got into it. And I was blessed because my family had always been self-employed, so I never really got that go get a good job talk. My dad, we my family owned a supermarket, so he always says, well, you're never making money work for somebody else. So I thought even when I was in school, I thought you majored in business to go into business. It didn't even occur to me to get a job. And now I've had them, but the longest I've ever worked for somebody was like 13 months. And I always viewed a job as a temporary inconvenience until I could get good enough at my thing where I didn't need to support myself with, let the job finance my apprenticeship. So we've been, I don't think I've worked for anybody else since 2003, and that was 2002, and that was for like 13 months. So that's my short story.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about that is is that you kind of stumbled onto the thing is that these hedge funds, right, are preaching do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
Right. But they make all the money. So we should just do what they do because
Let's do what because
let's just do what
success
they
leaves
do.
clues, right? That it pisses me off, right? Because so if you look, I always tell people there's two schools of thought. And you can see this clear in what Garrett Gunderson's book is, where I first started to crystallize this stuff. When I first read the first issue, was like mid 2000s, right? And so there's personal finance. So all of the entertainers you see on TV, what they teach: buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt, indexing, 401, max out your 401k, get a diversified portfolio of mutual funds, buy term investor difference. But if you look at the hedge funds and the institutions and the Buffetts and the Mr. Wonderfuls, they don't do. If you took a corporate finance course, one of my clients did that, and I said this analogy. She said, yeah, exactly what they teach. I said, yeah. So let's do what they do. What do they teach? Velocity of money, cash flow, leverage. They use permanent insurance strategies. If you look at, it's a great book by Barry Dyke, The Pirates of Manhattan, and he really got into their financial statements, and he shows you the things that they are actually doing with their money. He's got a chapter called "Never Met a Man Who Made Their Millions in Mutual Funds." I interviewed him on my show, and it's fascinating. So what do they? You got to do what they do, right? If you're willing to be in front of your money, in control of your money. So, because one of the things that we share is that investing is not about buying something. It's more about becoming something, right? So you have to become an investor. You have to become an expert in something. It's be, become, then do, then have. Most people just want to do. Tell me what to do so I can have this, so I can have a worry-free or a tax-free retirement. But my philosophy, there's no financial product in of itself that's going to take you to glory. You need them, but it's really you are your number one asset.
So you're basically saying that like you got to learn it.
You gotta
And
learn.
then if you can't just it's the old adage, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, teach a man a fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime. So
I teach people to fish.
yeah. No, I
You
love
know,
it. All right. So teach me to fish. What are these big dogs doing?
so they look at it's two ways to look at it. So they're doing the complete opposite. So while they're teaching you to buy and hold, they're creating velocity. So when you look at investing, and I think investing is, so people say I want to learn to invest. No, I don't give investment advice. I help people play defense. Okay. And so one of the things they do is, let me give you the principles that we've boiled down from studying Kiyosaki and other stuff. And it's kind of from my mentor, Kyle Christensen, has a great book called Principles Based Planning. And that's kind of what I'm a proponent of. So the principles, what do? I teach principles to help our clients become and remain financially free. Okay. Passive income greater than expenses. So if that's what you want, that's what we're talking about. So what do you have to do? Save. Okay. See, most people want to skip saving because they just want to be invested and, make any money on savings accounts and blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Okay. It's the habit of saving. Save what? 15 to 20% of your gross income. All right. And we'll get into it later. I'll show you a little easy, simple thing to kind of, automate that. Okay. The second principle, and if you look at them, all good investors, if you check out Kiyosaki's book, Who Took My Money, and what's the other one? Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. They all invest with insurance. So you have to play defense. You have to have what I call a fortress balance sheet, which is where you're looking at your liability coverages. Do you have umbrella coverages? Do you have adequate life insurance? Do you have estate trust and all that stuff set up? So that's a whole process that we teach called maximum protection. What is the maximum you can get, not the minimum? You want to, they set up legacy. They want to make sure they leave a legacy of wealth and wisdom, which is our third principle of personal finance. The fourth principle is liquidity. See, we're taught to invest, which is send money away from us. I teach people to capitalize, like accumulate financial value. So, and then we teach them to put it somewhere that allows them to leverage it or collateralize it so they can use it to buy other assets so they don't have to liquidate the account. So most people put money in and take it back out. They put money in, take it back out. And see, one of the things they don't teach you in personal finance is the concept of opportunity cost, because you finance everything you buy, right? So you either pay to use somebody else's money, or when you use your money, you're giving up interest you could be earning. And a lot of people don't calculate that. But that's a real cost. And the last one is, which is what your listeners and what we're talking about, is velocity of money, which is just an economic principle of, can you, like Mr. Wonderful, if you watch Shark Tank, he'll go, hey, I'm going to put this $1 million in your business. What does he want to know? How soon am I getting my money back? Right. With friends. And then what is he doing with that? Is he puts it into another deal, and then he gets it back, and he puts it into another deal. Now those deals are still, he's in them and they're throwing off cash, but he's got his capital out. So he has no risk. He's got his money back. And that's velocity. Okay. And on the real estate, that would be the BRRRR method. In business, it's how many times can you turn over the product. So money is made by the movement of money in motion. And then then they want cash flow. Then they want it leverage. And then they want, they protect it, or they store their cash in like insurance-based products. And so that's the fifth principle. So that's what they do. Okay. And but guess what? All of those strategies, they work in personal finance. So we just kind of boiled it down into a process. And but principle 5 is you. Like, that's you figuring out, okay, here are the 4 asset classes: business, real estate, paper assets, and commodities. What do you like? What do you understand? What do you want to become an expert at? Because that's your job, to make yourself rich. There's nobody outside of you that can make you rich. You know, you can get mentors and you can learn stuff, but you've got to do it. And if you don't want to do the work, I always tell people, don't call me, okay? Because I can't help you. You need to call your cousin at Primerica or Dave Ramsey coach or whatever, because it's designed. All right, look, just give your money to us. Let's just max out your 401k and get out of debt and keep it moving. All right, for some people that's great advice, but for people that want to be rich, you can't do that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned that hard way. We took, a Ramsey course, and it's whatever. And then I got to the point where I bought this car. Broke down a year later because it was junk, and like we bought it all cash, and now I'm paying like maintenance, like all this stuff, and like I just like was listening to episode of Grant Cardone. He's like, me and Dave don't get along. I make money and Dave don't.
Right.
So which one do you want to be? He's like, you can't do Dave and me, so pick one. And I was like,
I say that. Listen, I basically say the same thing. You got to pick which you want to be when you grow up, right? Yeah. You want to be rich, poor, or middle class, and so there's poor don't really you're already you do certain things, and then middle class is Dave, Susie, Dave, Bob, and they do great stuff for that market. So if you're a spendthrift and you're in debt and you're a mess, then they'll get you to a point. They'll get you what I call on top the horse, but then you need to change your philosophy, I believe, to become more of an active person. And it's not hard, but it's not easy. It takes time. And a lot of people just don't think long range. They don't have the patience to learn the skill, because skills make money, right? So you got to invest. What do you invest in? Your mindset, your skill set. Like if you look at Think and Grow Rich, the book, it's about Think and Grow Rich, but it doesn't talk about investing at all.
Yeah.
It's organized planning, it's specialized knowledge, it's having a desire, it's all of the principles, back to principles, that you need to do. And then you find something, usually it's specialized knowledge. They start a business, or even real estate investing is a business, right? If you got to learn to treat it that way. And that's the stuff that seems like woo-woo stuff that they don't want to learn. It's time to do, and okay, well, everybody I bring on the show, they always start. I spend 15 minutes on mindset, and people want to fast forward that part, but that's everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay. So going back to your process that you've really distilled, I should have asked this question a little bit, but I'm gonna take you back. What are one or two strengths or spiritual gifts that you have that have let you be successful today?
I tell you, I'm curious, and I'm what's the word? Somebody did a Kolbe on me, right? Kolbe, and I'm like a cognitive test. There's DISC testing, there's Kolbe, there's Strengths Finder. I did that one too, but I remember the Kolbe because somebody broke it down my score, and I'm a 7 out of a 10, what they call fact find, which explains a lot. So I find my superpower is I can assimilate a lot of information. And I've been this way since I was a kid. Like if I get hooked on where I'm really trying to figure something out, it's enough for me to read a book or two a week to get through the information. And so the power is I can assimilate a lot of information really quickly. I can think about it, and then I can draw it to you on a yellow pad, right? I can teach it. So I found that I'm good at teaching what people think is complicated and breaking it down. So I've kind of leaned into that, and that's kind of how I structure our business around financial education. So I think I'm good at that. Yeah.
I think I was going to say, if I were to guess, it would be taking complex stuff and distilling it down to super simple principles and just being able to explain it to people at a really elementary level. Sometimes I have that same sort of kind of like mindset. Like I can take something and just like, sometimes I almost simplify it too much to people where I'm just like, hey, like, money needs to like move. Like if it's not moving, then it's just dying. Right.
Right.
Those types of things. So,
and what happens is I've said that, and sometimes I'll say I think I'm using analogies. I'm keeping it simple. I had a client yesterday. No, I don't understand. Right. And I was showing her how to use her infinite banking policy, but she needed specific. What do I do? How much do I take? How do I pay it? All right, but I can do that. I said, okay, you just got to tell me what you need. It's in there, right? And I did an analogy. We'll talk about velocity. So my background, my family was in the tavern business. We're in the supermarket business, right? Yep. And so here's what the financial institutions do. So like a bottle, let's just use Bacardi. I haven't been out the business for about 10 years, but a bottle of Bacardi was like $13, $14, right? Rum. And wholesale? Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So like just straight, bottle, middle shelf
So
rum.
your store's buying Bacardi for $13 a bottle.
Right. Now, there's 25.4 ounces in a bottle, right?
Okay.
And we, I was in a neighborhood bar. So like it was like pour me a shot in glass. It wasn't like cocktails. It's like, rum and Coke, right? And so 1 ounce shot, let's say $3 a shot, $25, so it's 25 shots in a bottle if I'm getting all my money, that's a whole other thing. And so that's $75, right? So how many times can I turn that money over off a $13 bottle and make $75? Now, typical financial advice wants you to buy the bottles and leave them sitting on the shelf collecting dust. But if you're in business, you've got to turn the money over. So that's another way of looking at, if you're at a restaurant, how many times can you turn people over in that, turn the table over and get new people in? And that's what you have to start to look at. Can I move my money? And money loves speed, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't want to buy and hold and worry about the compound interest. I had dinner. I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and I was having probably drinks with the guy that manages the company's money. Like he's the chief investment advisor for this $35 billion that they're managing off the money. And they don't do any of that buy and hold, dollar cost average. They buy businesses.
Yeah.
They buy real estate. They sell financial products. So there's profit built into the products that they sell. And he used the term a fortress balance sheet. So like you got to put the money to work to get the returns to fulfill the company's resources. And when you talk to them, they don't use any of that personal finance stuff. I mean, it's completely opposite. And the funny thing is, everything that they do, you and I can do at our level, but we're not taught that, because if you knew the game, you wouldn't give your money up. Would a corporation ever lock up their money for 30 years where they couldn't touch it and just hope the market goes up? They would never do that.
So, all right. So when you say buy and hold, like you talking about like illiquid assets? What are you talking about when you say buy and hold?
So when I say buy and hold, I'm the wealth without Wall Street guy. So most people are taught, max out your 401k, dollar cost averaging in the mutual funds. So when I say buy and hold, I mean that. Now, the buy and hold I like is buy a real asset like a house, hold it, and collect rent. So I teach people to focus on cash flow. You cannot eat equity, right? And so you want to become, we call it getting it to a position of FU. Okay. And so the FU position is passive income twice your expenses, right? And we want that done in a decade or less. So you can't save your way to that. Like you got to save it by assets, buy or build assets that send you back a check, right?
Yep.
And so you have to, so if anybody that's in earshot of me, or what I teach is how to get the principles in order. The first four, right? Save, protect, legacy, liquidity. And then what do you use your liquidity for? The first 3 or 4 months is for emergencies. After that, between that and you learning to get access to other people's money or raising private capital, you've got to begin to use that to create velocity. And that's kind of our message and what we share with people.
Okay, so I want to go touch on this legacy idea really quick. So a lot of rich people, I forget what the concept's called, but the basic principle is that uber wealthy people will lose their money by the third generation because they basically give it to their kids who didn't learn. The one entrepreneur, right, who worked his butt off, built the wealth, gives it to the kid who knows a little bit enough to maintain it, but not grow it.
How to advance it, right?
Gives it to the grandkids who don't know anything, and they squander it, and it's a repeating cycle, right? So what are you doing for these legacy people to solve that problem?
Right. So good question. So the parable is short sleeves in 3 generations. And a lot of people use the example of the the Vanderbilts versus the Rockefellers, right? So the Vanderbilts did that. At one point, Commodore Vanderbilt had more money personally than the U.S. Treasury, right? But by the 3rd generation, they were broke because you can spend the money, right? And so what we have to do is, so I notice I said legacy of wealth and wisdom to advance to wealth. So what we have to do now, I'm telling them to do, I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of make it happen. But we talk to people about creating, family retreats. Are you playing cash flow with your kids? Are you doing, leading books? Because you want to get good at something. What you have to do is you got to practice, study, and teach, right? So, I have my daughters reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We play cash flow. Now I'm trying to help my 11-year-old start a online store, right? So I'm trying to, trying to teach her to be in business. I have what's the name? Laura Langmeyer's book. I haven't finished it yet, called Make Your Kids Millionaires. And I showed a stack of my summer reading list. Like, oh, I like Make Your Kids Millionaires. Now, one of the people that answered, I was like, well, the first person got to be a millionaire is you. Okay. That you got to be an example, or like moving towards that. And then they need to see you in, one, you got to be, I was doing a call with like Fatherhood Podcast. Listen, everybody, we're examples. You're the good one or you're bad one. Okay. So the first thing is you have to be a good example of stewardship, right? Of leadership. And so you got to do that. Now you've got to how do you teach that? So there is a book, one of my mentors, Kim Butler, has a book called The Perpetual Wealth, right? So it's about one of the strategies that we teach, infinite banking. But I usually give people that like when they've been working with us about 4 or 5, 6 months. And then we get into, okay, doing family retreats and creating a family bank. So if somebody has a business idea, okay, well, we've got this bank and you can ask for a loan and we'll fund it. And that's what the Rockefellers do. So they have a system of family governance, right? They all have to learn stuff. They do a system of retreat. So that's the next level stuff. But that's the kind of, so you can't just give them the money, because if they didn't work for it, they're going to blow it.
For sure.
Okay. I've paid, insurance death claims where they've got, $500,000, $800,000, 3-4 years later, they're completely broke.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. 100%.
Because they didn't call me and listen to me, didn't follow up, and just did their own thing. And Jim Rohn said, if you inherit a lot of money, he'll say, like, if you wanted to become you should make a goal to become a millionaire, not for the money, but for the person you have to become. And if somebody dumps a lot of money on you, you better work hard to level your game up, or you're going to lose it, because you're not worth it yet. And, you're going to revert back to the mean, your self-image, if you don't build that up and build up your knowledge, because the fool and their money are soon parted.
Yep, absolutely. And I love that. That's some really, really, really good wisdom right there. All right. So what are you doing for these people? I want to get tactical for a minute. What are you doing for these people that have estate planning issues over the 22?
Yeah. So it depends. Depending on the people, right? So I have this thing, it's called Legal Shield. It's like a prepaid legal plan. And so, but I have it. Look, my wife's a lawyer. I still have the plan. Okay. But what it'll do is part of the little membership is, at least I want to have this. Your basic estate plan is insurance, like life insurance, but to your human life value. That's what we mean by maximum protection. So if let's say you're 35, then, or 40, I want, the insurance company will give you your annual income times 25, right? That's how much insurance you're supposed to have. Okay. Or if you're over 41, they'll give you your yearly income times 20. So most people are underinsured, because nobody talks to them about the concept of maximum protection. So, but that's just the money, right? So now what if your kids are young, under 18? I ask them, like, well, if something were to happen to you or your wife, or you and your wife at the same time, would you want your children to, let's say they're 18 or 19, would you want them to get $2 million with unfettered access, with no instruction? Okay. And most parents say no. Well, then you need a trust, right? So you need to so I use the plan to do that, but I also, depending on their net worth, I've got some other people that I've interviewed on the show that we've I can't call their name right now, but I've done a bunch of shows on asset protection and that kind of stuff. And then I'll say, well, they're not cheap, but call them. And there's some people that I'm working with, they want a person. So I have a couple people that refer them to. So I'm more like the quarterback of their financial team, because business is a team sport. So if they have a person, I'll work with that person. If they don't have a person, then I'll get them a person, a good accountant, a good bookkeeper. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
you know, you got to work together. We all should be talking to each other on your behalf,
Yeah.
because nobody knows everything. I know a little bit about a lot, but I stay in my lane. Like I don't venture out of my lane. You know, I don't give tax advice. I don't do estate. That's why I like that, because they're real terms. I've used them. I just had them set up my second LLC. You know, they set up my operating agreement, and the whole thing is like, well, I could go to the state and just get an EIN number and create an LLC, but I don't have any of the other stuff. So it's usually jacked up, and you don't, you know, that you don't keep good minutes, and nobody's instructing you on how to do that stuff. So I like giving them people that they can call. They have unlimited consultation, that kind of thing. But basically, it's that. So I go over the concept, and then I will see who they know, or I will find them somebody specific. I don't use the plan. Then, or if they're in Pennsylvania, for example, I may send them to my wife, because my wife does the state administration, but out, you know, I work across the country. So I will, I'm always, so if you're listening to this and you do that, I'm always looking for good, honest, strategic, well, I'm assuming you're honest, but good strategic alliance partners that will do what they say they're going to do. Because if I give you a referral and you don't do what you say you're going to do, you make me look bad, and I'm going to find you, and I'm going to whip your ass, and I'm going to beat your butt.
Fair
Just
enough.
kidding. Just
Fair
kidding.
enough.
No, we're not threatening. No threatening. These are jokes. Okay.
These are
So
jokes,
too
jokes.
serious, right? These are just jokes.
So okay,
You come on stage and
this will
smack it.
be interesting. This will be interesting talk. We're kind of running out of time here, but
Yep.
I'll just kind of share a little bit about
shorter winded.
yeah. Well, and maybe we can deep dive a little bit more on your podcast, because this one's about you. So
Mhm.
I don't want to talk too much about us and what we got, but we do have an awesome strategy called a deferred sales trust that that basically can help you defer capital gains tax on the sale of any asset, including stock, business, real estate, commercial real estate, primary home, Bitcoin, notes.
Yeah, we do have to talk about that on my show. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean. I get people like you, and I send them to you.
Yeah. Well, and what's cool is that you can use it to move assets outside your taxable estate, so they don't have to get subject to that death tax of 40%. And you guys can learn more about that by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. We have a mastermind actually every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So Curtis, I'll definitely throw your email in that invite, so you can come and, check it out. And it's a fantastic place to be there. You mentioned that you do a lot of buying and real estate. Do you ever sell the real estate?
No.
No. So you hold it.
I mean, I don't have that much. I mean, I'm more like, out of the asset classes, my favorite is business.
Yep.
And we've sold some, because we had some commercial stuff that there was the real estate and the business, and we sold them. Which I hadn't, but that was like 12 years ago. And if I know kind of stuff I know now, we'd probably still have everything. I might have like sold your liquor license and kept the real estate and just but I did not do that then. And so hindsight's 2020. So, but I, pretty much we buy and hold. I want cash flow. So I'm trying to I want my passive income to match our business revenue, like the revenue of our business, and so if I don't want to do the business, which I can't see happening, like I tell people, look, if you sell your business, you're still supposed to be rich, right? You should still have outside passive income, that covers your household stuff, so that your new money is just running up the score. And a lot of people are, real estate investors waiting on rents to come. So you're at another level of, you're still in the real estate. You're in the rat race. You're in business, but you're still in the rat race, because you still are doing everything. And, how do you build a business that works so you don't have to? So,
yeah. What's your biggest frustration when it comes to tax deferral in a 1031?
I don't know how to do it. Okay. And I haven't needed to do that. So, but this is what I'm doing on my show, because I have people that are trying to do that, but they don't know what they're doing. Right. And you can screw, I got this thing and I want to sell it. And I said, oh, you're going to sell it. You kind of already need to have the other property in play so that you can put it in the other thing, because you got like 60 days or something. So, right.
You got 45 days to identify,
45 days. Okay.
180 days to close. But yeah.
So you got a window there. You can't just, oh, maybe I should do this. Like they need to have, in my opinion. So this is the kind of stuff I do. If I hear that, because I go over all their stuff, I would say, hey, this is what you want to do? I got some people you need to talk to. So as I do these calls, I make friends. I figure out who's good at what they're doing. I know what good you're doing. You're in my vendor list or what I call strategic alliance list. It's like, oh,
For sure.
I got to leave for it. Once I understand what you do, then I'm trying to, because my goal is to help our clients become and remain financially free. So that I don't have anybody. I don't have anything to do that where I've had to do that yet. But I'm frustrated that I don't completely understand it. But I don't need to understand it till I start doing it. That's how my mind works. I don't really focus on stuff I don't need to do till I get to the point where I'm in the mix, and then I will figure out everything I need to know. Or who, right? Who, because it's who, not how, right? Who, that's my favorite book from last year. Who, not
how. Well, that's a fantastic segment into the lightning round, and I mean we can deep dive and nerd out on all that stuff, and I can kind of go into specifics about how this whole thing works and the benefits, because it's an awesome, super awesome, powerful strategy that can give time back. You don't have these time constraints. You don't have these like kind constraints. You can sell a crypto and go into business and real estate. You can sell real estate and go into stocks and wait for a business to come, and then go back into real estate. If you find a deal, you can sell stock, and it's just so much cool stuff.
We got to learn how to run that play. I love it. Yeah.
So that's awesome. But so you just said your favorite book, because that's one of my first questions. What's your favorite book? You just said Who Not How this year.
It was my favorite book for last year, right?
Okay.
I think I read it last year. Where's my reading list I'm looking at over here? So what am I liking right now? Boss Moves by Myron Golden.
Yeah.
I literally read like 2 or 3 books a month, right? So
Atomic
Habits is on my list. I'm starting what's that book? Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference.
That's a fantastic book.
I gave it to my daughter, my oldest daughter, who's a senior in college. I said, look, you need to learn. If you learn this stuff, you'll have an unfair advantage, because most people don't.
College.
Yeah, right. But it's too late now. I'm paid for it, and she's about to graduate. But the thing is, it's like, especially for her school, it's more like who you know than what you know. She's a Duke, so I want you to have the who you knows, but you need to be skilled, confident, and know your value and how to create value in the marketplace. Because that's what your revenue is based on. What problems you can solve for other people. So I'm liking those right now, and I'm trying. My favorite book is I guess started this for me, and out of the series of the Rich Dad stuff is Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, because it's very detailed, and that helped. And I teach from that, and really like Principle 5 is that book. Is the Rich Dad's Guide to Investing and Who Took My Money are like 2 of my favorite. And a good one with him and Tom Wheelwright is Why the Rich Get Richer.
Interesting. Okay. All right. What's your favorite leadership quote?
Those that sweat more doing peace bleed less during war. So, I think it's a Navy SEAL thing. Like, most people don't prepare, right? So if you don't prepare and you have to go into battle or get into a game or whatever, and you haven't prepared, you're going to get jacked up.
Yep. Absolutely. I like that. All right. Last question. What are you most curious about right now?
That's the only thing I can think of on top.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. What are you most curious about right now?
I am curious about, I'm really marketing, how to what I realize I'm in the marketing business. So I'm curious about marketing. I'm a little curious about 2 things on the investment side, which is land flipping and Turo is, I think, 2 things I'm curious about, like adding a little bit to our portfolio outside of building practical wealth.
Interesting. Awesome. All right. Well, we are out of time. Any final words?
No, guys. Hey, if you just so he's posted down there. Think about, just listen, do the work. One of the things I'll tell you is like, pay yourself first. Like if you read the Richest Man in Babylon is like my go-to favorite book, right? And just all I teach is the 7 cures for a lean purse. So it's principles. right? Stop looking for tactics and chasing shiny objects. Are you saving? Do you manage cash flow? Are you creating velocity and making your gold multiply? So if you'll read that book, and if you get paid, you sweep 15 to 20% off the top of every check into a wealth capture account. If you do that, just do that, you'll be dangerous. You'll be in a different place if you learn to separate your accounts. I'll throw you another one out. Profit First, what Mike Michalowicz is. I kind of teach that, how to have the principles and how to most wealth is also how people manage cash flow. So get in front and get in control. We call it in our system, tell your money where to go instead of asking where it went.
Yeah,
So
I like that.
that's
Awesome.
what I do.
Okay, cool. And people can get in touch with you. Text Be the Bank to 55444 for the free report on the value of liquidity.
Mhm.
And they can also reach you and connect with you, Curtis, at practicalwealthadvisors.com, practicalwealthadvisors.com.
Yep. And I'm on IG, so follow me on Instagram and
Instagram.
In my link tree in the Instagram post, you can also connect with me through there, watch the podcast and my YouTube channel, and even connect with me if you'd like to have a conversation.
Absolutely. Awesome. Cool. And if you guys are interested about learning more about the Deferred Sales Trust, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com and sign up for our mastermind group. Or if you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly and learn about that. Obviously, you can check out our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, subscribe, share, all that kind of fun stuff that they make us do now. And thanks again, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe the most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy is the best way to create, preserve, and grow your wealth. Please rate, review, subscribe, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks again, Curtis. Really appreciate your time.